Laughter. It is one of the most instinctive and universal sounds a human being can make. It crosses every language barrier, every cultural divide, and every generation. A baby laughs before it can speak. An elderly person laughs even when words fail them. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself, why? Why do we laugh? When did it start? And what does it tell us about who we are as a species? The answer takes us back millions of years, long before the first word was ever spoken, long before the first civilization was ever built. It takes us to the very roots of what it means to be human. To understand why humans laugh, we first need to understand that laughter is not uniquely human. It predates us by millions of years. In the 190s, primatologist Jane Goodall and later researcher Marina Davila Ross made a remarkable discovery. Chimpanzees, gorillas, orangutans, and even rats produce vocalizations that are strikingly similar to human laughter when they are tickled or engaged in play. However, there is a key difference. When a chimpanzee laughs, the sound is produced on both the inhale and the exhale. Human laughter, by contrast, is almost exclusively exhale, a series of short, sharp bursts of air. This distinction tells us something profound. At some point in our evolutionary history, our ancestors made a critical shift. Laughter evolved alongside our changing vocal anatomy, the same anatomical changes that eventually gave us the ability to speak. In other words, laughter and language grew up together. But why did laughter develop at all? What purpose did it serve for our early ancestors? The answer, according to evolutionary scientists, is deeply social. Early humans lived in groups. Survival depended on cooperation, on hunting together, gathering together, and protecting one another from predators. In this kind of environment, social bonding was not a luxury. It was a matter of life and death. Laughter, scientists believe, was one of the earliest and most powerful tools of social bonding. When a group of early humans laughed together, it sent a clear signal. We are safe. We are friends. There is no threat here. It was a form of communication that preceded words entirely. Evolutionary psychologist Robin Dunbar at the University of Oxford conducted studies showing that laughter triggers the release of endorphins, the brain's natural painkillers and pleasure chemicals, the same chemicals released during exercise, physical touch, and eating. In essence, laughing together gave early humans a chemical reward for being social. It made cooperation feel good. It strengthened the bonds between individuals and, by extension, strengthened the group as a whole. There is another theory that complements the social bonding explanation. It is called the false alarm theory of laughter. Think about what makes something funny. Often, it involves a sudden surprise, a setup that leads you to expect one thing and then delivers something completely different. A punchline, a pratfall, an unexpected twist. Researchers like Matthew Hurley, Daniel Dennett, and Reginald Adams argue that laughter evolved as a response to exactly this kind of situation. Imagine an early human hearing a sudden rustle in the bushes. Their body immediately tenses. Adrenaline floods their system. They prepare to fight or flee, and then it is just the wind or a small harmless animal. The tension releases, and that release, that sudden reversal from danger to safety, may be one of the earliest roots of what we now recognize as humor. Laughter, in this sense, was the body's way of saying the threat was not real. We are okay. Stand down. Over millions of years, this response became refined, socialized, and ultimately transformed into the complex, nuanced sense of humor we have today. Of course, laughter leaves no fossils. You cannot dig up a laugh, but archaeologists and anthropologists have found indirect evidence of humor and playfulness stretching back tens of thousands of years. Cave paintings dating back 30,000 to 40,000 years sometimes depict animals and figures in ways that appear deliberately exaggerated or absurd, a possible sign that our ancient ancestors appreciated caricature and comic exaggeration. Ancient artifacts, including small carved figurines with grotesque or playful features, suggest that humor was part of everyday life long before written history. And when writing did emerge, some of the very first recorded jokes appeared almost immediately. The oldest known joke in the world was written in ancient Sumeria around 1900 BC. It reads, something which has never occurred since time immemorial. A young woman did not fart in her husband's lap. The oldest known Egyptian joke dates to around 1600 BC and involves a rather crude play on words about a pharaoh's dignity. Even in the ancient world, people laughed at the same things we laugh at today: embarrassment, surprise, and the absurdity of the human condition. As civilizations grew, laughter took on new dimensions. In ancient Greece, laughter was a subject of serious philosophical debate. Plato was deeply suspicious of laughter. He believed it represented a loss of control, an irrational response that could undermine reason and dignity. In his ideal republic, excessive laughter was to be discouraged, particularly among the ruling class. Aristotle, on the other hand, took a more nuanced view. He argued that humor and comedy were distinctly human traits, proof of our intelligence and our ability to recognize incongruity. He defined comedy as the imitation of people who are worse than average, not in terms of evil, but in terms of the ridiculous. The Romans embraced laughter more openly. Cicero wrote extensively on the use of wit and humor in public speaking, arguing that a well-placed joke could disarm an opponent, win over an audience, and make even the most complex argument more persuasive. Roman culture gave us some of history's first professional comedians, performers who made their living by making others laugh in the public squares and theaters of the empire. Let us take a moment to examine what is actually happening in your body when you laugh. A laugh begins in the brain, specifically in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for complex cognitive functions like understanding context and recognizing incongruity. When your brain detects something funny, it sends signals that travel through multiple neural pathways, eventually triggering a response in the motor cortex, the region that controls physical movement. Your diaphragm begins to contract rhythmically. Your vocal cords partially close. Air is pushed out of your lungs in rapid staccato bursts. Your face muscles contract. Your eyes crinkle. In moments of intense laughter, tears stream down your face. Your stomach muscles ache, and you may temporarily lose control of your ability to speak. At the same time, your brain is flooding your bloodstream with endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, a cocktail of feel-good chemicals that reduce stress, lower blood pressure, and boost your immune system. In short, laughter is medicine, and it has been for millions of years. One of the most fascinating aspects of laughter is that it is contagious. You do not need to hear a joke to start laughing. Simply hearing someone else laugh can trigger laughter in you, even if you have no idea what they are laughing at. This phenomenon is driven by mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that activate both when you perform an action and when you observe someone else performing the same action. They are the neurological foundation of empathy. When you hear someone laugh, your mirror neurons fire, and before your brain begins to simulate the emotional state that would produce laughter. Often, before you even consciously process what is happening, you are already smiling or laughing along. This is why laugh tracks were added to early television sitcoms. Producers discovered that audiences laughed more and rated shows as funnier when they could hear other people laughing in the background. And it is why a single person laughing in a quiet room can trigger an entire group to dissolve into helpless laughter, even when no one is entirely sure what started it. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence that laughter is deeply hardwired into our biology is the fact that it is universal. Every human culture on Earth laughs. From the most isolated indigenous communities in the Amazon to the most technologically advanced cities in the world, humans laugh. They laugh at similar things. They laugh for similar reasons. Blind Blind and deaf children who have never seen a smile or heard a laugh still laugh spontaneously in response to play and tickling. This tells us that laughter is not learned behavior, it is not a cultural construct, it is biological. At the same time, what people find funny varies enormously across cultures and throughout history. Humor is shaped by language, by social norms, by power dynamics, and by shared experience. What makes a medieval peasant laugh is very different from what makes a modern office worker laugh, but the act of laughing itself, that involuntary, explosive, contagious release, remains the same. Laughter is not always kind. Throughout history, laughter has also been used as a weapon, as a tool of exclusion, humiliation, and cruelty. The ancient Greeks identified a concept they called katagelismos, the fear of being laughed at. It is one of our most primal social fears, rooted in the same evolutionary instincts that made social bonding so critical for survival. To be laughed at by your group was, in evolutionary terms, a sign of rejection, a potential death sentence. Philosophers have long noted the superiority theory of humor, the idea that we laugh at others to feel better about ourselves, to reinforce social hierarchies, or to signal group membership by laughing at those who are outside the group. This is why humor can be profoundly powerful and profoundly dangerous. The same mechanism that bonds a group together can be used to exclude, demean, and dehumanize. The history of humor is inseparable from the history of power, and the history of who gets to laugh and who gets laughed at tells us a great deal about the societies that produced it. Modern medicine has confirmed what our ancestors may have instinctively understood. Laughter heals. Studies have shown that laughter reduces cortisol levels, the body's primary stress hormone. It boosts the immune system by increasing the production of antibodies and activating protective cells. It lowers blood pressure by promoting the relaxation of blood vessels. It reduces physical pain through the release of endorphins. It improves mental health by reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression. And it strengthens social bonds by creating shared positive experiences. The field of gelotology, the scientific study of laughter and its effects on the body, has grown significantly in recent decades. Laughter therapy is now used in hospitals, care homes, and mental health facilities around the world. And the concept of laughter yoga, a practice combining intentional laughter with yogic breathing, has spread to over 100 countries, based on the principle that the body cannot distinguish between genuine and simulated laughter. The physiological benefits are the same either way. After millions of years of evolution, after the rise and fall of countless civilizations, after all the philosophical debates and scientific studies, why do we still laugh? Because the world is still surprising, still absurd, still full of incongruity and contradiction and unexpected reversals. Because we are still social animals, craving connection, craving the signal that says we are safe here, we are together, everything is going to be okay. Because somewhere deep in our neurology, in the ancient circuitry we inherited from creatures who sat around fires long before language existed, the release of laughter still feels like one of the most fundamentally human things we can do. So when did humans start laughing? The honest answer is, before we were fully human, laughter predates language. It predates civilization. It predates recorded history by millions of years. It is older than art, older than religion, older than agriculture. It began as a primate vocalization during play. It evolved into a powerful social signal. It became a tool of bonding, of healing, of communication, and yes, of cruelty and power. And somewhere along the way, it became something more. It became humor, the uniquely human ability to find meaning in absurdity, joy in suffering, and connection in shared recognition of the beautiful, ridiculous, magnificent chaos of being alive. From the first chimpanzee that exhaled a breathy cackle during a game of chase, to the last joke told between friends at the end of a long day, laughter has been with us every step of the way, and as long as there are humans on this earth, it always will be.